An apparent tornado touches down in Deerfield today. We'll take a look at the damage right now at 10. And game one of the preseason, Packers taking on the Titans at Lambeau Field. We'll have the highlights straight ahead.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thank you for joining us. Eric is off this week. A possible tornado caused quite a scene in Deerfield today. Everyone is safe, but there was a bit of damage. Amy Reed followed the story for us this evening, and she joins us live now with the latest. Amy?
Behind me is the International Machinery Exchange. It's really the focal point of the damage here in Deerfield. Now, the National Weather Service is saying that this is likely a tornado, but with no sirens, it might be one that caught nearly everyone off guard. Security camera footage shows a possible tornado tearing through the neighboring yard. Up close after the fact, and the roof of a warehouse is ripped apart. Luckily, anyone inside got out, especially with how much this storm took people by surprise.
When I saw this, I started shaking. I immediately was like running through the house, like didn't know what to do. I was literally about to cry.
People here told us it only lasted about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was quite that big of a storm.
Enough to scare the locals.
I just had no clue what to do. I'm like slightly still shaking now.
And create a couple close calls.
Broke off on these two upper parts, came down and went through their porch, covered porch. There's actually a branch through the roof.
Stopping just shy of the kitchen his mother was sitting in.
Never expected to see this.
Firefighters said it could have been a lot worse. The time of day and the brevity of the storm kept things from getting too bad. But for a town that says they've never seen a tornado, this one will stick with them.
So it was a freaky thing, to something to pop out right away, then pop back up. But Wisconsin weather doesn't care.
Now, there was a bit of a scare with the gas line earlier today. It made firefighters evacuate some of the neighboring homes, but they're back inside tonight. The gas at the building behind me does remain shut off.
Amy Reed in Deerfield tonight. Amy, thank you. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti with our first alert forecast. Gary?
Charlotte, you know, we were expecting the possibility for an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm this afternoon. That's exactly what happened. I mean, there were 3 severe weather reports in total. A hail report up near Merrimack, a wind report for some tree branches down around Milton, and then, of course, the brief tornado touchdown near Deerfield that happened just before 4 o'clock. The Milton storm went through about 5:15. But the storms that produced that severe weather have now moved to the south and northern Illinois and are weakening. A few light showers up north and west of the Dells will probably fall apart in the next hour or so. Otherwise, things are pretty quiet out there, and I'm not expecting much in the way of precipitation at all through the weekend and into early next week. Low temperatures right now are probably at the current temperatures just because of the fact that we've had the rain move through earlier. High temperatures today were in the mid to upper 80s before the storms hit. La Crosse topped out at 90 degrees, but like I say, current temperatures, at least here in Madison, are at the low for the day at 67. Elsewhere, temperatures are in the 70s to our west. And dew point temperatures are still high, so we could see some patchy areas of fog, visibility down to a mile in Lone Rock. Otherwise, look for patchy fog early morning. Otherwise, tomorrow, look for a partly sunny and warm day. A little less humidity with a high of 82. That's your first alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. A man charged in the shooting death of a Milwaukee police officer last month has pleaded not guilty. Jonathan Copeland Jr. entered his plea today. The 30-year-old faces 3 felony charges, including first-degree intentional homicide for the shooting death of 52-year-old officer Michael Mihalski. Copeland is also charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide for shooting at 2 other officers. Those officers were not hit. The toddler who was hit by a car in a Wisconsin Dells parking lot earlier this week has died. The Lake Delton Police Department said the 3-year-old girl from Illinois passed away Tuesday evening, the same day she was hit. It happened in the parking lot of Hotel Rome. Officials say alcohol does not appear to be a factor in this accident. Supporters of stronger gun control laws put hundreds of pairs of shoes on the steps of the state capitol today. Among them, survivors of the Parkland High School shooting. The display featured 664 pairs of empty shoes, representing the 664 Wisconsinites killed with a gun over the last year. A gun rights activist group is holding a rally this weekend in support of Second Amendment rights. That goes from noon to 3 this Saturday on the State Street side of the Capitol. Organizers say the event will support the right to bear arms and free speech. The city of Madison is celebrating the grand opening of its newest park today.
1, 2, 3, yeah!
So even in the rain, the ribbon was cut. The new park named 1000 Oaks Park is located in the 1000 Oaks neighborhood on Madison's far west side.
The neighborhood's called 1000 Oaks for a reason. And to be able to honor that, natural legacy of this space and bring an active park into it is really pretty phenomenal.
As a part of a new subdivision, this 15-acre park features an open field, reservable shelter, walking paths, seating area, and play area. Animal lovers can look forward to a new attraction and campground coming to the Lake Delton area. It will include lions, tigers, and panthers. News 3's Madeline O'Neill is back from Sauk County with more on plans to relocate the Wisconsin Big Cat Rescue and Education Center.
Charlotte, currently in Rock Springs, which is about 25 minutes southwest of Lake Delton, the nonprofit organization provides a home for big cats like lions and tigers who have nowhere else to go. Now the owners are planning a move to a new home.
The goal here is to be able to take care of them.
Cats have 9 lives.
Give them a life, a place to live out their life, in peace and quiet.
At least that's how the saying goes.
Each one of my cats has a different personality, so getting to know that personality, and just like having a bunch of kids, technically, just a lot bigger.
Jeff Kozlowski, founder of the Wisconsin Big Cat Rescue in Rock Springs, knows his 27 big cats live a better life now than they did before.
Some came from backyard breeders, private owners. Some came from zoos that shut down. You didn't go in. Thanks.
After a good 11 years, he says this big cat sanctuary is starting to feel too small.
We do turn down cats every year.
So Kozlowski is planning a move to a bigger site just outside Lake Delton on County Highway A.
A lot more property, bigger cages, in-ground swimming pools for the cats, so it's an upgrade for everybody, really.
That's along with 100 sites for tents, RVs, and cabins.
Wisconsin Dells Lake Delton area is very successful because we have an unbelievably diverse attraction product.
That's why Lake Delton Village Board member Tom Deal says the sanctuary and campground will fit right in. And a board committee approved the project's concept designs. But the 2 sites planned nearby did raise some concerns.
The Planning Commission, that was one of our key questions, was to make sure that whatever he did was safe.
Trust me, I went through all that.
Kozlowski says the campground will be separated from the cats' cages by 75 feet of woods. And he's planning for plenty of fencing and enhanced security.
We've been here 11 years and no cat has ever got out or even attempted to. They're pretty happy where they're at.
He thinks they'll be pretty happy at their next life in Lake Delton, too.
We'll give them a good home.
Now, the owners currently live on site, so they'll be building a new home for themselves as well at the new location. That, along with building the new shelters for the cats, means they have a lot of work ahead of them, but they have a target date of moving by Memorial Day of next year.
Well, we'll keep track of them. Thank you, Madeline. Still to come, the longest-serving governor in Wisconsin history and former U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services is going the extra mile, fighting to save others from a deadly cancer. His conversation with our Susan Simon is next at 10. More tthan 55,000 Americans will be diagnosed this year with pancreatic cancer. Survival rates have not improved over decades of treatment and research. The symptoms are often vague or non-existent, but this has been a year of unforeseen breakthroughs in pancreatic cancer research. A new trial overseas was unveiled this past June at a national conference. UW oncologist Dr. Noel Locante, who treats pancreas cancer patients, was there.
We showed that those patients on average lived 54 months. That's the longest survival we've ever demonstrated in pancreas cancer. I burst into tears during the presentation. And so to see such a dramatic improvement, I mean, we were previously telling people 2 years, maybe 3, and now we're beyond 4 years for these patients that can have surgery, which again is not the majority of patients, but that's a big win. I mean, that's like home run out of the park.
But why is it such a struggle to get needed research dollars for this particular cancer?
Because there's no advocates, because we don't have survivors. Patients are not living long enough to be their own advocate. They have a lot of other things to worry about other than fundraising for cancer research.
The pancreatic cancer community does have a high-profile advocate now, 4-term Wisconsin governor and former Health and Human Services Secretary Tommy Thompson. Thompson has a very personal connection, and he shared his story with our Susan Simon.
Grab your coffee, let's head outside. When former Governor Tommy Thompson wants to find peace, he goes home. Oh my goodness, Governor, look at this view.
This was homesteaded by my great-grandfather in 1860.
He graciously invited me to his farm in Elroy on the land that's been in his family for generations.
That over there is the homestead. See the blue silo?
Yes.
That's where my mother was born with her 9 brothers and sisters. My farm goes all the way around.
How does it feel to look out and see this view?
You know, it's me, it's my heritage, it's home.
At 76 and semi-retired from politics now, Thompson spends as much time as he can at his sanctuary in the country.
And they're going to take the grapes, and I suppose they'll mix it with some others, but they'll call it the Governor's Reserve.
Also growing on this land and buried deep in the soil are memories, sometimes painful ones, of a younger brother whose life was cut short, a tree planted in honor of Eddie. Do you feel him when you're out here? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel all
every
your
time,
siblings?
you know, it reminds me of him. So yeah. It's sort of bitter, you know, to know that I'm older and I'm here and he's not.
Yeah. It's still hard to talk about the painful disease that took both of his brothers, but it's given Thompson a purpose.
It is such an insidious, dastardly disease, and nobody really has paid that much attention to it.
It is pancreatic cancer, the 3rd leading cancer killer in Wisconsin, often undetectable and incurable.
There hasn't been the dollars, the research, and I guess it's because it's such a difficult disease that people can't find a cure for it, and so they'd rather not fail, so they go into some other cancer.
Thompson's younger brother, Eddie, the larger-than-life former mayor of Tomah and one-time Libertarian candidate for governor, was diagnosed in 2010 in the middle of a campaign for state senate.
It devastated us, and knowing this, he was sort of the comedian, sort of the glue that all of us loved to be around because he enjoyed life so much. And then to have this powerful man that was so strong come down with an illness that he couldn't defeat. And he thought he could beat it. He thought he would be the first one to beat it.
Less than 2 years later, Thompson's brother Artie faced the same devastating diagnosis.
Artie didn't fight it as hard as Eddie, and Artie went a lot faster. I think Artie died within 8 months after the diagnosis. And then on top of it, my farming partner, Irwin Schultz, who grew up with me, he died of pancreatic cancer, all in the same time period.
You sadly have too much experience with cancer.
We got a big C. Everyone, my wife has had cancer, breast cancer, started the Women's Health Foundation. My daughter Kelly's had breast cancer and had her breast removed. Tommy has had breast cancer and thyroid cancer.
So far, Tommy himself and his sister Julianne are cancer-free. But that doesn't diminish the pain of losing his brothers, nor his determination to fulfill a promise.
My brother Eddie, he said, for God's sakes, Tommy, do whatever you can. Find a cure for this disease. That he grabbed him by the hand, and he had giant hands, bigger than mine, and he grabbed me and he says, find a cure for this. He said, it's not going to help me, but find it for other people. And so, I will.
That was Susan Simon reporting. You can help the Thompson family support pancreatic cancer research this weekend at the Roll and Stroll for Pancreas Cancer this Sunday at Capitol Brewery in Middleton. There's a 10 or 50K bike ride or a 2-mile stroll. The event is dedicated to former UW hockey coach Jeff Sauer, who died from pancreatic cancer. For more information, go to uwhealth.org/roll-and-stroll. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canolfi's here with a look at your forecast, and hopefully we'll have some nice weather.
Yeah, after today, you know, we had a little excitement with that tornado touchdown around Deerfield, but that was a very difficult storm to detect, and I'll show you why. If you take a look at the wind velocity, this is the Doppler radar wind profile of that storm, and what you're seeing here, the winds in green are winds that are blowing toward the National Weather Service Doppler radar down in Sullivan. It'll be off the screen to your the lower right corner. And then the colors in red are winds that are blowing away from the radar. And you can see the brighter the greens, that's where the stronger winds are. The brighter the reds, the stronger the winds are there. So you can see an area of stronger winds heading toward Deerfield. This looks more like a quick straight line thunderstorm wind event as the thunderstorm starts to rain itself out. But it kind of interacted with a boundary that kind of came in off of Lake Michigan and shifted the winds a little bit. So in a short period of time, you notice this where the reds and the greens come together. That's a tight spin up where the tornado may have developed. And this is about 348. By 350, it's right over Deerfield. And then right after that, it just kind of fell apart. So these are very difficult storms to detect. We were not expecting tornadoes, but a lot of times when you have a severe thunderstorm, you can get a brief tornado spin up. Usually they're pretty weak, and this one was. I'm guessing top winds are probably somewhere around 70, 80, 90 miles per hour at most. But again, that you can get strong straight line winds that are in the same general range and cause the same amount of damage. Now, if you look at the time lapse in the WISC Skycam, this is looking off toward the west early this afternoon. We had some heavier showers come through, and then watch as this storm cell started to track through. You saw a little batch of clouds just kind of skirt over. That's what we call scud clouds that are kind of out in front of the storm where the stronger winds are. And then watch what happens here. Boom, you get that big burst of rain, and that a lot of times sends out a gust front that could bring a brief strong gust of wind, and then a couple minutes later it's pretty much gone and the rain is over with as well. And that's again why these storms are very difficult to forecast, at least in a longer period of time. The rainfall amounts were in the 1 to 2 inch range from the storms that tracked over Madison through Deerfield and then down into Rock County. There was some wind damage reported around Milton, but now those storms are down in northern Illinois. Some lighter showers to the north and west are starting to fall apart and probably will be gone before midnight. Live view from the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Pretty quiet around here as we check the almanac for today. The high temperature before the storms 87, the low 67, and right now we've dropped off to that low for the day of 67 degrees. Our forecast for tonight calls for partly cloudy skies, some patchy fog possible, low temperature dropping to 62. Tomorrow will be partly sunny and warm, but hopefully a little less humid with a high of 82. On future track, you can see partly cloudy skies overnight, low temperatures lower 60s. Tomorrow, partly sunny, just a tad cooler with high temperatures in the lower 80s. Tomorrow night will clear out with low temperatures in the lower 60s, and then look for high temperatures in the middle 80s on Saturday. And as we look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, see those temperatures remaining in the 80s, probably mid to upper 80s for Sunday and Monday. Humidity comes back Tuesday and Wednesday with some chances for thunderstorms Tuesday night into Wednesday. A little drop in temperatures Thursday, another little shot of humidity toward the end of next week, followed by drier air for the end of next weekend.
All right, Gary, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The Packers kick off the preseason schedule against the Titans. Kevin has highlights from Lambeau next.
The Packers opening the preseason tonight against the Tennessee Titans, which means no Aaron Rodgers, no Randall Cobb, no Jimmy Graham, and no pick an offensive lineman. Team just trying to get in some work against somebody else. There's Rodgers. I called it at 6. Baseball cap, long sleeve T-shirt. First possession, Brett Hundley going up top. Devontae Adams, the grab inside the 5, 48 yards later. It's first and goal. Hundley was 9 of 14 through the air. That would set up Brett's to Jamal Williams. Keeps his feet in bounds, dives, scores, dances. Packers get on the board. Late fourth, Tim Boyle, fourth stringer. It's a former Whitewater star, Jay Kumaro. He wants to make the squad. He looks good in training camp. 52-yard touchdown. Packers win 31-17. They host the Steelers 1 week from tonight. Top 2 picks in the draft squaring off in New York. Second overall, Saquon Barkley. Why the Giants got him. The video game moves, bounces outside. 39 yards later, pushed out of bounds for the first down. Only got 5 carries in the game. Don't want to get him hurt. Top pick overall, Baker Mayfield. Not bad at all. 11 of 20 through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Browns win 20-10. The final in New York. Badgers head coach Paul Chryst overjoyed to talk about his offensive line being on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Not really. Arguably the best starting 5 in college football, but by year's end, most of them might play multiple positions on that line, which has worked in the past and looks like it'll work in the future.
Guys are learning 2 positions at least, and Mike will be in 3, and different ones. You just gotta keep working and getting comfortable with it. I think they all are growing in their confidence, and that part's been good.
The Brewers trying to finish off their series with the Padres before heading to Atlanta, Chicago, and St. Louis for what could be a monster road trip as the crew tries to chase down first place in the division. But first things first. Had to take care of Game 3. Jonathan Scope hasn't been hitting at all with the Brewers until today. 2-strike pitch down the line and left. Hernan Perez, Travis Shaw score. It's 3-1 crew. 4-2 in the 9th. Corey Knebel. Oh, in trouble with the bases loaded. Travis Jankowski grounds to Knebel, who does that. The closer leaves things wide open. Base is still loaded. Knebel pulled for Joakim Soria. Some balls are hit. Hunter Renfroe destroys this one. That's a grand slam. Padres win 8-4, taking 2 of 3. The Brewers trail the Cubs by 2 in the division. First round of the final major of the season, PGA Championship in St. Louis. Tiger Woods, after a rough start, even par, 6 shots back. Ricky Fowler hasn't won a major in his career. Likes the bright clothes, likes dropping long putts. He is 5 under at Belle Reve. Gary Woodland doesn't have any top 10 finishes in a major. He is your leader at 6 under par. Harlem Globetrotter Bull Bullard does it again, and by does it again, I mean hits an impossible trick shot. Well, he makes it possible. How about out of a plane? Did a helicopter last year. The pilot slowed down all the way to 70 miles per hour, but still the approach, and I don't care how many times it takes you to do it. Buckets, nothing but nets. I mean, unbelievable. Their summer's over. They'll kick off a new U.S. tour in November, and we are back after this.
Well, I think the humidity will be down a bit for tomorrow, high of 82, mid-80s for the weekend, and then a little more humidity by the middle of next week could lead some thunderstorm chances at that time, but staying warm through next week.
All right, thank you, Gary, and thank you for joining us. Do something good, and we'll see you here tomorrow.